But leading Christ's people to sin is a damning thing. Going back to Revelation, he says Christ is going to throw this woman. He says, let me back up. Sorry, verse 21. I gave her time to repent, but she refuses to repent of her sexual immorality. Here is the graciousness of our Christ, of our God, of our King, allowing this Jezebel to repent of her sins. But he says she refuses. So in 22, he tells them, behold, I will throw her onto a sick bed, and those who commit adultery with her I will throw into great tribulation, unless they repent of her works. Beloved, I'm confident that Christ he doesn't like to, excuse me, that's not the right word. It is necessary for him to bring judgment upon his people sometimes, because he's bringing judgment upon the sin that is inside his body. And for him to take care of this Jezebel and to get rid of her, right, it could mean that a lot of that's going to spill over. Other people are going to get hurt. This tribulation, whatever it is, it's great. It's terrible. And he's about to throw those who are in it into it. Whether you believe in a futuristic tribulation or whether you believe that tribulation still happens today, it's great. And especially great for those who are in bed with the world. And then watch this in verse 23. This is terrifying. And I will strike her children dead. Dead. Even Paul, writing to the Corinthians, he told them, he says, look, many of you are sick and some of you are asleep. And he wasn't talking about asleep like a sleep. He was talking about dead sleep. Beloved, there are times when Christ will take out people from this world. And sometimes he will take out Christians from this world if they have just gone a little too far. There are times where he will take them out and say, that's enough, you're done, you just need to come on home. 1 John 5:16, it talks about the fact that there's a sin that leads to death, but there's also sins that don't lead to death. And he says, those are sins that don't lead to death, you should pray for one another on those. But the sin that leads to death, well, there's really not much, you don't really need to pray for that one. Now that's a tough passage. It's in John 5:16. Y'all can go look at it. What does it mean not to pray for someone in a sin that leads to death? My point is this, and I think I'm on pretty solid ground here when he says, there are sins that we Christians can be a part of that will lead to our physical death. There will be times where God will come in and say, that's enough, you're done, you're coming home with me. And I know we don't like to think about that, but I guarantee if you look back over your life and the lives of friends and family and people in churches, I bet there might be somebody that died, maybe unexpectedly, I don't know, maybe died, but their world was wrapped up in all kinds of compromise. Beloved, this is not an easy thing to think about. This is not comfortable for us to imagine that our compromise could lead to some kind of death. And we might think something like, well, Jesus wouldn't do that. He's too loving. He's too nice. Let me go back and read you that part that says where he has eyes like a flame of fire and whose feet are like burnished bronze. Now, if you saw somebody walk into this room and their eyes are on fire and they had feet that were like pounding the pavement, you are not going to be like, oh, isn't he cute? No. This is the picture of a Christ who comes in and is seeking to purify his church and to preserve his people. And this church has tolerated a Jezebel. Christ wants to purify his church, beloved. He wants to purify us. He wants us to be steadfast, desiring him in everything that we have and everything that we can give.